Okay, I knew this year that I wanted to create some seasonal Halloween-y inspired decor for my house, but I didn't want it to be tacky. I feel like there's so much tacky Halloween decor out there and I could not decide what I wanted to do. But then the other day I was thrifting and I found these frames. I saw them on the shelf and they just immediately screamed at me to buy them because they looked perfect and gave me an immediate idea to do little ghost paintings in them. The right size to put on a little shelf in my house somewhere as a cute seasonal decor item. So anyway, in this video, I'm gonna show you how I painted these little cutie ghost paintings. Actually, I'm gonna show you how I painted this little cutie ghost painting. And if you're in my Patreon, I'm gonna do a bonus showing you how to do the other two. And you can just paint along with me. I'm using gouache paint. This is a new set that I got recently. I've just been feeling really inspired by gouache content on social media lately, and I saw this set and it just looked so satisfying, so I had to get it for myself. It's interesting that I decided to buy so many colors because I don't actually really know how to use gouache, so I'm going to be experimenting in this video, and you're welcome to experiment along with me if you don't really know what you're doing, because I don't either. And then I've also already cut some watercolor paper into the shapes of the frames. And I think I'm gonna just start with this huge brush and paint a completely black background. I thought about potentially just using black watercolor paper, but I kind of like the texture of actually having paint strokes as my background. So that's what I'm doing. And I'm actually not gonna go like completely to the edge in some spots, or at least not on purpose, because the frame is actually going to overlap a bit, so it doesn't have to go right to the edge. One thing I've learned recently about gouache is that you actually have to use quite a bit of water. The first few times I painted with gouache, I was barely using any water and kind of using it as like acrylic paint, and it didn't work very well. So PSA, if you're new to gouache also. I'm envisioning that my ghost is going to be like in this little bottom part, but I think I want it standing in a field of wildflowers. So I've got my black, but because I want to put florals on it, I think I'm going to add some deep greens in the bottom part. So I'm really not going to be super precious with this, let's be honest. I never am. So just wanting to add like a bit of a green undertone in this bottom-ish half. And I'm going to add more green, like make it more saturated green as I get towards the bottom. It's like as if this green field is kind of blending into the black sky. So I've got some green, then I just smudged my black with my fingers. I think I'm gonna use my heat gun and dry this a little bit. Okay, it's not totally dry, but that's okay. The other nice part about using the heat gun is that it kind of makes the paper warp in the other direction. So I'm just being super messy about this. I'm sure you've noticed. I'm really trying not to overthink it, but I just want to get like a nice dark black and a nice kind of like fade into green. Okay, ghost painting time. So I'm gonna get my brush really wet and add a bunch of white to it. And again, I'm happy with the fact that some of that background color is coming through, because I think a ghost would be see-through. Maybe that's just me, but he's got pretty uneven, I was gonna say feet, but I think we know ghosts don't have feet. Although maybe they do. They're, nobody knows. I think he needs like a taller, rounder head. I keep saying him. I guess this ghost is a guy. And I think that because, again, I'm not a gouache expert, but I think that because this has kind of like pulled color from the background, it's starting to kind of all blend together and become gray. So I'm actually gonna dry this and then start again with some like more pigmented white when that's fully dry, because I think that it needs a bit more contrast on my ghost. There we go. Yeah, now that it's dried, a little more. The white that I'm putting on top is not blending in quite so much, which makes it pop a little more. And then I might also add just a tiny bit of gray. Although that feels a little bit like the wrong gray now because the background was greenish and this gray is really warm, but whatever. Okay, you know how sometimes you walk away from a painting thinking you don't like it and then you come back and you're like, oh, actually that looks pretty good. Next move is going to be adding some background greenery here. So like grass, tall grasses, and then I'll add the flowers to it. So I'm gonna get my brush really wet, starting with some really dark greens. This is the part that I was saying I learned from that viral video that Liz did. She did a lot of like really light lines for adding grasses. And that's what I'm gonna do first. So some of it can overlap with Mr. Ghosty. Some of it is just off to the side. You can hardly see it. I wonder if you can even see that on video. It's just gonna add some texture in the back. Some lines really light, some lines can be thicker. This point in the painting, I feel like I get to a point where I'm like, okay, this is a trust the process game. Because I don't love the way that it's looking right now, but I know that once I keep adding layers, I'm gonna like it better. So just continuing to add some textured marks here with the darker one, and then I'm gonna add my lighter green to my brush. Really trying to make this ghost look like he's standing in a field and that the grass is really tall. This is one of the parts that I did like totally wrong, or that I like really felt like I screwed up. When I first tried this painting style, I was not using enough water. So my gouache lines were like really chalky, almost like skippy. Is that a word? I'm really trying to like learn different styles and everything lately. So I'm just playing and figuring out what I like. And this technique is definitely one that I like. Okay, I've got my green still here. Now I'm gonna add some yellow to it and just make it a lot brighter green to add the next layer of grass. Again, I really don't want to take credit for this technique because I did learn it from a viral video on TikTok or on Instagram. But basically you're going from darkest to lightest, adding more layers. I'm going to do that with the green grasses and also with the flowers when I get to them. I'm happy with the way this is looking. I'm going to completely clean off my brush so that I can add my pinkish, reddish colors that I want to do for my flowers. I think I'm going to go with like a dark red, almost like a brownie red, because I don't want this to feel too much like we're in the daylight. I'm going to do kind of 3 different versions of this color. Okay, and I'm going to start with the darkest version first so that I can layer the lighter colors over top of it after. So all I'm doing for these little flowers is literally just like making little dots in a flowery shape. They're just little wildflowers, kind of scattered wherever. And then I'll go in and add a center to them after with another color. I'm not thinking too hard about where to put them because I'm just gonna keep adding and adding till I'm happy. And I do want it to look like there's a ton of them over top of this little ghosty guy. So, okay, I think that's good for the darkest layer. It's like noticeably brighter, but it's doing the exact same flowers. So it looks like it's the same flowers, just some are further back and some are closer to the surface. Okay, and then last, exact same thing, but with my brightest color. Okay, I think I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. 2 more little steps before we can be done. We need to put a middle on those flowers. And for that, I'm gonna do a similar thing where I'm gonna add the color into my palette, do a lighter version and a darker version. And the very last part we have to do, obviously, is add the ghost's eyes. I'm gonna just err on the side of caution with this and do some pretty small eyes first, and then make them bigger if I want to. So let's see. Okay, I'm glad I started small because I think that's actually basically the exact size I want for these. Okay, I'm actually really happy with the way this turned out. I think it's so cute. So I'm gonna wait for it to dry. I'm gonna pop it in a frame and then we'll be done. If you're inside my Patreon community, I'm doing 2 more smaller tutorials that will go with this. Like I'm doing a 3 set. So I'm gonna leave the other 2 tutorials for Patreon. I'm saving this palette because I'm gonna try and reuse kind of the same tones in each painting and do a couple little different things. So if you're in Patreon, check that out. If not, hang tight. I'm gonna just frame this and I'll show you how it all ended up. Okay, I'm super happy with how this turned out, and now we're ready to get it in the frame and see the final results. These frames are so interesting. They have these tiny little pins in them that are kind of hard to line up, so bear with me. And there it is. Oh, it's so cute. I love how this turned out. I think it's gonna look actually very spooky, very classy, not tacky Halloween decor, and super easy to change out seasonally too if I just cut another piece of watercolor paper and paint something else for the next season. So love it. Okay, so there's our first ghost painting. I love it so much. I think it turned out so cute and exactly what I was looking for. If you're in my Patreon, I'm gonna be giving you access to see the video tutorial for these other 2, so you can definitely check that out. And if you're not, I hope you enjoyed this video. You can absolutely DIY and come up with different designs and use the same kind of technique to do different colors and different amounts of ghosts and all sorts of things. So I hope you have fun with it. And I'm gonna link you to another video next that's Halloween decor inspired because I think you're gonna like it, and I hope to see you over there.